You know, let's face it, most perceptions about hypnosis are really shaped by fictional stories from Hollywood films and TV. At worst, these are completely false and at best only partially true. And it's no wonder people are confused about hypnosis. And no wonder so many people are afraid of it. What we want to do today is help you understand more about hypnosis and how it works and realize that there's nothing to be afraid of. And we found in our practice that most people come in with 5 common questions, 5 things that they worry about needlessly because of what they've seen on TV. What do they want to know? Will I be asleep or unconscious? Are you going to control me? Will I be out of control? Can you make me do something against my will? Will I remember what occurs? What if there's an emergency and I'm under hypnosis? We will answer these questions and more in today's show. First we're going to start answering those 5 questions before we bring on our special guest today. Hypnosis is really a relaxed, focused state of concentration. You might not be aware of it, but you're in a natural state of hypnosis several times a day. Have you ever been completely absorbed in a book or a TV program to the exclusion of everything else? Have you ever arrived at your destination without being aware that you drove your car? Your subconscious mind knows how to do that. And while you're driving the car with your subconscious mind at the wheel, you're thinking about what you're going to do when you get there, thinking about your grocery list or your work. Your subconscious mind is in charge of repetitious learned behavior, and you can drive safely while it's otherwise engaged. You're in a state of hypnosis when you drive your car, when you read a book, when an athlete says that they're in the zone. It's not an unusual state of mind. It's very, very natural, and it's something that happens to everyone every day.
The most commonly asked questions of those of us who do hypnotism is 1, will I be asleep or unconscious? 2, will you control me? Will I be out of control? 3, can you make me do something against my will? 4, will I remember what occurs? And 5, what if there's an emergency and I'm under hypnosis? What will happen?
Okay, we're going to answer those questions now, one at a time. No, you will not be asleep. You will not be unconscious. We just explained that you're actually in a focused state of concentration. You're completely awake. It's a reciprocal process. You need to participate. We're trained to guide you into this natural state and to help give you the beneficial suggestions you need. But all hypnosis is self-hypnosis. You're doing it. You're awake. You hear our voice. You respond to the way that we guide you. And you are always aware of what's going on. And you remember it later.
Will you control me? Will I be out of control? It's a very interesting thing that happened during and even after the Second World War. People in our government began to wonder how to block out the spies that were flooding the market between East Europe and here. They thought maybe hypnotism would be a good way to control somebody. So they started practicing and acting and working to find a way that they could take a person off the streets, condition him or her, and then put them back on the streets, maybe as a person who would kill somebody else, maybe as a person who could pick up information that they needed. So they started experimenting with hypnotism, and they found out that hypnotism cannot control you. You can't be controlled by hypnotism. They found out that you're in charge. From the very minute you start, you're in charge. Nobody can control you under hypnotism. Yes, it takes a great deal of time, over a long period of time. But in the long run, they found out, after spending millions of dollars, that it's impossible to control you.
And can you make me do something against my will? Absolutely not. When you're under hypnosis, you can never be made to do anything against your morals, your core beliefs, or anything contrary to your value system. And no one can make you reveal your deepest secrets. Actually, if you wanted to, it would be counterproductive, but you could even lie under hypnosis. There is no reason to be afraid of hypnosis. If a hypnotist were to, your subconscious mind will reject any suggestion that goes against who you are, that goes against your core beliefs. Your subconscious mind will immediately reject those suggestions, and you would just automatically wake yourself up. You're not asleep, but for lack of a better term, because you're so relaxed. You would open your eyes and you would get up, and if it was a really bad breach of ethics, you would call the authorities, do whatever you need to do. But no one can make you do anything against your core beliefs.
Well, I remember what occurs. Absolutely everything that happens in a hypnotism session will be totally remembered. If you can't remember part of your session, I guarantee you you are asleep during the session. That makes it impossible for anybody to control you at all.
Those are the last question that people want to know is, what if there's an emergency and I'm under hypnosis? Well, you know what? If there's an emergency, you're going to respond in the same way that you would if you were driving your car. I just told you that when you're driving your car, we call that highway hypnosis. You don't remember turning the wheels, touching the brakes. You don't remember any of the motions you go through. You're under hypnosis. But if a child were to run out in front of your car, if something dangerous happened and you had to respond, you would snap right back into your conscious mind immediately and take control. And that's why you're never out of control in hypnosis. And that's why you can trust it and you can really, really benefit. You know, not too long ago, Dr. Alfred Berrios from UCLA, a clinical psychologist, he's the inventor of the stress control biofeedback card. And he conducted a study of various psychological intervention techniques and the techniques that proved to generate the greatest success in providing lasting change. What he found was really astonishing. People that undergo psychoanalysis have a 38% recovery rate after 600 sessions. 600 sessions. There's a lot of value in psychoanalysis. We are not dismissing that in any way. And we actually want our clients to get all of the help they need and use all of the tools they can. But know that in psychoanalysis, that 600 sessions actually translates to about 11 and a half years, or one session a week. If you're undergoing behavioral therapy, cognitive therapy, different types of psychological therapy, there's a 72% recovery after 22 sessions. And that comes out to about 6 months at one session a week. But they found out that hypnotherapy had a 93% recovery after 6 sessions, approximately 1.5 months, one session per week. So this is why it's really, really important to understand that this tool is available, that it's natural, and that there's nothing to be afraid of. The other thing that you might want to know before we go into a commercial pretty soon is that hypnosis is medically approved. A lot of people ask that question. Hypnosis was first officially recognized as a viable therapeutic tool by the British government through the Hypnotism Act in 1952, long time ago. And then, following along in 1958, both the British and the American Medical Associations, the AMA, sanctioned the official use of hypnosis by physicians. In 1958, the American Psychiatric Association, APA, also approved hypnotherapy for use by professionally responsible individuals. And now it's becoming more and more commonly used in prestigious hospitals in the United States. They use it and teach hypnosis. Stanford University School of Medicine near San Francisco, the Beth Israel Medical Center in Boston, and the University of Texas Southwestern Medical Center in Dallas are 3 major medical centers that commonly use hypnosis. And many other hospitals allow hypnotists to come in all the time to help out with medical situations. It's commonly accepted now to use hypnosis for medical and dental procedures, including even major surgery. And the benefits of using hypnosis for medical reasons include less bleeding, faster recovery time, and the need for fewer post-operative medications.
We're very happy today to introduce Debi Livingston Boushey. Debi has been practicing and teaching and conducting meditational help and hypnosis since 1982 with her students and clients around the world. She has won numerous awards, enjoys the greatest respect of her peers. Welcome, Debi. We're honored to have you with us as a guest.
Hey, thank you so much for having me here. And before we get started, I just really want to validate both you and Lynn for the great work that you're doing to the community with hypnosis.
Oh, thank you.
For having this radio show on the internet, because as an instructor, that's like the best praise an instructor can get, is seeing their students go out and do what they were been taught to do. So just hooray for you guys. I'm so impressed.
Well, thank you, Debi. And to all you listeners, Debi is the instructor who certified both Jim and I for hypnosis and to become hypnotherapists. We owe her any success that we have. We owe to Debi and her magnificent teaching. She's a great teacher, so we highly recommend her to anyone out there who's listening who may want to learn how to become a hypnotherapist yourself. Just contact Debi, contact us, and we'll let you know how to get in touch with her.
Cool.
I second that motion. She's absolutely wonderful. She's a wonderful, wonderful person, and she's a tremendous teacher. I've got 2 master's degrees, and listening to her was just magnificent anyway.
Thank you.
So, Debi, what are you going to talk to us about today?
Oh, my goodness. What do you want me to talk about? I was listening to everything you were talking about in the first segment, and I really liked how you were dispelling all the misinformation that's out there about hypnosis. And so many people, even today, really don't understand what hypnosis is and how it really can be used to create behavior change, as you talked about, for habit control, and even to use hypnosis for changing your mind to change your life and to change your thoughts around, as your show is called, because it really is how we perceive the world around us. One thing I tell my clients and my students is that hypnosis, unfortunately, isn't a magic pill that's going to give you instant enlightenment, or it's not going to, zap zingo, in an instant change the world around you. Just because you went into hypnosis, your boss is still going to be your boss, your family's still going to be your family, those issues are still going to be there. But using hypnosis, you can change your perspective on how you choose to react and move through all the different challenges that life presents. And I think that is something that most people don't understand, what some of the real healing properties are with hypnosis. And that's why I'm really excited about the show that you guys are going to be offering to everybody, because I know with the information that you have and how you're applying hypnosis in your personal lives and then helping people, that you're really going to do great work in really educating the community about hypnosis.
Oh, thank you. We're really.
So I don't know if I answered your question or not.
Yeah. Well, Debi, you know what you could answer? We only address the 5 most common questions, but there are so many other questions people have. Why don't you talk a little bit about how do I know if I can be hypnotized, and how can I tell if it will work for me?
Those are good questions. I get so many clients coming to me who have been to other hypnotherapists, and yet they don't know they were hypnotized. And as you know, as having taken my course, one of the things that I think is most important that we offer our clients is education. Mm-hmm. So a person having been to somebody who never told them what hypnosis was, what it wasn't, what they can be expected to experience when they're in hypnosis, won't usually know that they are hypnotized because it feels so natural. Because it is a natural state of mind that we go into every single day of our lives. And as Jim was saying, definitely right before we drift off to sleep and right as we wake up in the morning, we are in that hypnagogic state. So a person can tell if they've been hypnotized by several things. One, if they experience time distortion. Oftentimes I'll have clients in hypnosis and I'll say, gee, how long do you think you're in trance for? Oh, I don't know, that seemed like maybe 10 minutes, when in truth maybe it was 40 or 45 minutes. So time distortion is one of the things that somebody might experience when they're in hypnosis. They, if we give them convincers, and I'm a big advocate on giving our clients what I call convincers, the exercises that can only be done from the subconscious mind, such as, the harder you try to open your eyelids, the tighter they're locking shut. When a client has that experience that they're unable to open their eyelids, though they're trying, that's letting them know, wow, I think I really am in hypnosis right now, because deductive reasoning would say there's no reason why I shouldn't be able to open my eyelids. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, we're educating them by saying that is because every time an idea goes into your subconscious mind, it has to come true. So as hypnotists, if we're giving our clients these very simple convincers, that's letting them know they're in hypnosis. But oftentimes, hypnotists won't do a convincer. So other things that a client might experience is that they kind of felt like they had a drifty, floaty feeling. That's sort of a trance phenomenon. The client feels like they're drifting or floating. Some clients feel like they're just getting really heavy and sinking, like a comfortable sinking feeling.
Right.
Feeling like, their legs and their arms are kind of like detached, or like they sort of have this disattached feeling from their body. These are all some of the trance phenomena that a client is experiencing when they're in hypnosis. And as hypnotists, when we explain that to our clients, and they'll go, oh, well, I was experiencing that. I've had that before. Well, then, yes, you've been in hypnosis. Mm-hmm. Oftentimes, the client, and you guys can interrupt me anytime you want, because you know me, I can start talking on a roll.
But you're doing such a beautiful job.
Oftentimes, a client will think that they're supposed to go to sleep, like when they go to bed at night. And as you explained earlier, it isn't that kind of sleep. We call it that type of sleep because in the English language, that's sort of what we can wrap our minds around, that sort of lets us know we're going to be in a state of deep relaxation. But when they're having the time distortion, feeling relaxed, feeling like they're drifting or floating or sinking down, these are all some of the feelings that they have by being in hypnosis. You don't have to get relaxed just because you've been in hypnosis. That's also sort of a little misdemeanor that people have. Relaxation is not a prerequisite to go into hypnosis. It's usually a byproduct of having been there. But with that said, some sessions just aren't really relaxing. So oftentimes relaxation isn't a real good thing to hold on to, thinking that was hypnosis in and by itself.
Right. You wouldn't want to be too relaxed when you're driving your car, and yet that's hypnosis.
Exactly. Good point.
And this is why a lot of people say, I don't think I was hypnotized, because they think they're going to not be conscious, or they think they're going to be so relaxed, and sometimes that's not what they experience.
Right, or they think, as you were explaining earlier, that they're going to be under the control of the hypnotist, and that they're going to be told to do things that they normally wouldn't do. And that, as we know, isn't true also. And it's not a truth serum. They're not going to be blurting anything out they don't want us to know about just because they're in trance. It's just a natural state of mind that they are in control the entire time. But because it feels so good and it's so relaxing, they're willing to stay in that state of mind and follow the hypnotherapist's instructions to guide them to the places they need to go for their healing and resolution that they're coming to you for.
Okay. We're actually coming up within a minute or so of our next commercial break. So in that minute, we want to encourage people when we come back to call in. Jim, give them the call-in number. Don't be shy about calling.
We'd love to have you call us. If you have a question, the number is 866-613-1612. Again, 866-613-1612. We'd love to have you call us. On the other hand, if you want to email us, it's info@BayAreaHypnotherapy.com. Again, info@BayAreaHypnotherapy.com.
Right.
Love to hear from you.
Right. Don't hesitate to call us.
Can I add one more thing before we go for a break?
We have some time, Debbie. We wanted to get that number in because we don't want people to be shy about calling or emailing.
Oh, don't be shy.
But we still have 2 or 3 minutes to talk. And so go ahead, make your point.
The other thing I wanted to address is you asked me if usually when everything else fails, that's a good indication that perhaps hypnosis will be the modality that will work for somebody to create change. And as you guys know, as hypnotherapists, we're usually the people that clients call last after the diets didn't work, after the patch didn't work, after the nicotine gum didn't work, after the after all the different modalities for change didn't work, then they'll give hypnosis a try. And thought I'd put that out there.
That's right. So many people walk in and say, I've tried everything. Nothing is helping me.
Yeah.
Well, people want to know how it will work. Will it work for me? Why it will work for everybody. Tell them why it will work.
It will work for everybody if there's a sincere willingness to create the change that they say they want to create, and the willingness to follow the instructions of the hypnotherapist. And that's really all it takes, is a willingness to create change and the dedication to follow the instructions that the hypnotherapist is giving them. And as we know, we're not telling anybody what to do. We're simply giving them words, which are the suggestions that will guide them into the hypnotic state. And then once they're in there, then it becomes a dance between you and the client. And based on however it is that you practice your own form of hypnotherapy, every hypnotherapist has their own creative way of helping people create change. That's why I think it's such a beautiful vocation to get into, because as creative as an individual you are, that's how creative every one of your sessions will be.
The other thing that we get all the time is what happens in a typical session, what's going to happen to me in a session, and how many sessions will I need?
I get that question a lot, and one thing I never offer as a hypnotherapist, especially when people are coming to me to quit smoking, I never say one-time guarantee only, because I believe that's unethical, and I know that everybody's different. With that said, I also know that every time an idea goes into the subconscious mind, it has to come true. That's a scientific fact of hypnosis. Every time an idea goes into the subconscious mind, it has to come true. So when people are coming to me to create change, I will usually say, I can work with you one time, but if you feel like you need to have some reinforcement sessions or to work on some other issues that are probably connected to this one issue that you're coming to see me for, you might want to consider getting a package of 3 sessions.
Okay. Beth, go ahead, honey.
I was just going to say we recommend 3 to 4, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, we like to recommend 3 to 4 sessions, because one of the things we always do is teach our clients self-hypnosis. We don't want them to come back over and over again paying us money. We want them to learn how to be their own expert hypnotist. So
Absolutely.
in 1 week, we give them the first step. We give and they practice it. In the next week, they get the second step. The third week, they get the third step, depending on how well they do practicing during the week. And they begin to get into the process themselves, and it's a really exciting thing for them. One of the reasons why they can expect to be very successful with hypnosis. Sometimes people come in and ask me, what's the difference between meditation and hypnosis? And actually, there is very little difference. When people go into a meditative state, they're simply lowering their brain waves so that they can become completely relaxed. And usually they're doing this with the intention of emptying their mind and just relaxing without any thoughts, without thinking, just being. And that's a wonderful therapeutic thing. When you're in hypnosis, you are in a meditative state, but with the purpose of doing some important work in your subconscious mind to achieve whatever benefit you came in for. And the way we do this is by lowering your brain waves. When you're in your conscious mind, you're thinking at 14 cycles per second. And this is where you're thinking and planning and reasoning. It's the smallest part of your mind. The subconscious is working behind that, running the show. And when we get you into hypnosis, what we want to do is lower you down to the alpha state, which is only 7 to 14 cycles per second. And this is where daydreaming occurs, where meditation occurs, and it's a very, very natural state. And if you know anything about brain waves, you know that there's 2 more levels you could get to, theta and delta, that are even lower. But the really good news is that nearly all hypnosis takes place in that very light state, that meditative state, in the alpha state. You can do very, very important work in your subconscious mind there. The only reason you might want to get down to theta, where it's 4 to 7 cycles per second, would be if you wanted to do something like go to the dentist without Novocaine. Or even some people, believe it or not, you can have surgery without anesthetic. But that That takes time and practice and work with your hypnotist to be able to do that. And for most people, 99% of people, what they want to do, it all takes place in that simple meditative state, in the alpha state. Debi, you were going to talk about conscious versus subconscious, how they work separately and together.
Yeah, a lot of times when people come to me, they're coming to me because they want to quit smoking, or they want to get rid of an unhealthy habit. I do a lot of work at Options Recovery Services here in Berkeley, and that is a drug alcohol rehabilitation center. And I work with clients there to help them on their path with sobriety. And anytime somebody has a habit, and we know as hypnotherapists in the state of California, we're not allowed to say we treat addictions, but we can help people if they have a really, really, really strong habit. So with that said, when I work with people who are struggling with drug and alcohol dependencies, or even to quit smoking, when they've attempted to get rid of that habit in the past, usually it has been using willpower. And, you know, we can all do an exercise right now, all the listeners, that if you were to hold your arm out in front of you, and I were to tell you, I'm going to place a 500-pound weight in your hand, and I'd like you to hold this weight in your hand with your arm outstretched for about, 10, 15 minutes, at some point your arm's going to drop the weight because the muscles aren't that developed to be able to hold that weight up there. And that's the suggestion, that's like the suggestion that I'm not going to smoke. I'm going to quit smoking. Okay, no, I'm not going to smoke. That thought, I'm not going to smoke, becomes the 500-pound weight that we're holding in our hand. And at some point, something's going to trigger us to want to have a cigarette, or to want to pick up a drink, or to want to use drugs, whether it's an outer trigger or something inside, an internal trigger. When we get that trigger, pretty soon that weight becomes too heavy. We drop the I'm not going to smoke, drink, or use, and we go back to smoking, drinking, or using, because we told ourselves we were going to stop a habit by using our conscious mind. And the conscious mind was never meant to create change permanently. The conscious mind is what houses willpower. And willpower is that temporary rush to get us through something, but willpower isn't made to create change permanently. Though some people can use willpower and cold turkey to quit, most people cannot. Our subconscious mind is where all of our habits and patterns are created and stored. So when we have a client in hypnosis, they're in the arena of their subconscious mind, which is where the habits of smoking are located. So in hypnosis, in the subconscious mind, the client can actually empty out, release that smoking habit, which is similar to going into a garden and pulling a weed right out from the tip of the root versus snipping it off the top where it's going to grow back. We're actually removing that imprint, that habit, from the subconscious mind, and then from that state of hypnosis, when the client's in the subconscious mind, they're bringing in all those new thought ideas that they want to be experiencing as the healthy non-smoker, as a healthy non-drinker, as a healthy non-user. And as I said earlier, every time an idea goes into the subconscious mind, it has to come true. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but with reinforcement and compounding of suggestions, those ideas will become that individual's new reality and way of being. That's what, behavior modification. So the subconscious mind is where all of our habits and patterns are created and stored. The conscious mind is the critical factor that's going to discern what it chooses to let go into the subconscious mind. And it serves a very, very valid purpose in our life. And, like if I told everybody to go up on the roof and jump off and you'd be enlightened, the conscious mind would say, well, this guest you have on your radio show is a whack job. We're not going to listen to her. That's the conscious mind stepping in and saying, no, we're not going to do this.
And yet
Go ahead.
No,
go ahead.
I was going to say, yet there are people who do this. We had a mass suicide about 2 years ago in Southern California for people who were believing they were going to go directly to heaven.
Oh, the Heaven's Gate people.
Heaven's Gate
Right.
people.
Yep. Yeah. Well, that's because they were all in a state of hypnosis.
Yeah.
That whatever that leader was telling them, that leader had them in that state of trance or that state of belief. And that's sort of getting us off track that you wouldn't do anything against your will. They were doing that willfully because they really believed something good was going to happen.
Right. They believed that without being in their everyday life, in everything they were doing every day, all day long, in their conscious mind. They believed
Exactly.
that.
Exactly. But when somebody comes to you as to a hypnotherapist, we're just helping them bypass the critical factor of their conscious mind and moving them into their subconscious mind where they can establish selective thinking. And our subconscious mind really wants to just serve us, but we're so used to being dictated by what's in our subconscious mind that may not be the healthy thoughts and feelings, that we can redesign our subconscious mind for positive change.
That's a good point. One of the things, we have a caller on the line, but before we bring her on, I want to address what you just said, because we do tell people that we understand that we need to exercise to make our body strong. We need to eat the right foods to be healthy. We go to school, we study, we do crosswords, we do things to keep our mind active. A lot of us go to church or practice some sort of spirituality. We do all of these things to be the best we can be, but most people don't understand that you need to train your subconscious mind. You need to consciously feed it the right things, and that's what hypnosis is all about.
Exactly. Right on.
Well, we have a caller named Wendy on the line.
All right.
Hi.
Hi. Hi, Wendy. This is Jim. What can I do for you?
Well, I just had a question. I was wondering how hypnosis and the subconscious mind can help me overcome fears and phobias, because I have a deathly fear of bees. And as a result of that, my life is limited to, being scared to go outside, and I've hurt myself trying to get away from them. And so just wondering if that is a successful means of overcoming the fear.
You're saying you have agoraphobia, which is the fear of going outside and...
No, she's afraid of bees. There was a little feedback. You said you were afraid of bees, right?
Right, which causes me to be afraid to go outside.
I see.
If there was a bee or something, yeah.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that. Yeah, well, we can help you. I'm afraid of bees, too, in that sense. I wouldn't want to be around them. But that was good, huh?
Yeah.
And anyway, yes, do come see us. We'd love to see you, and we can help you with that.
Yes, that's a good question, Wendy, because we actually forgot to bring up fears, phobias, which is something that hypnosis is very, very effective for. Maybe something that you might want to address, Debbie?
Yeah, there's a lot of times that we have a fear that we can't really explain why that fear is there. We just know that it controls us. So when somebody comes to us for a fear or a phobia, and there's a difference between the two. A fear is an actual fear. A phobia is being afraid that fear is going to come upon us. There's a difference between fear and phobia. But with hypnosis, you can have that client regress to when that fear or phobia was first imprinted in the subconscious mind. And that's the beauty of hypnosis, is that our subconscious mind is like a computer. And there's at one point in this person's life, I think you said her name was Wendy, there's a time in Wendy's life when this fear was first imprinted in her subconscious mind of, oh my gosh, I'm afraid of bees. Now, I don't know when that was or what happened. Maybe she got stung or something when she was little, but that reason is stored in her subconscious mind. So if she were to go to you guys or to somebody for hypnotherapy, from that trance state, that subconscious mind could be asked to go to the source of the problem when this fear of bees first began. And then it's like putting the subconscious mind on Google search. It's like, the subconscious mind is going to Google and look for the information. Oh, here it is. When I was 4 years old, I stepped on a beehive, and ever since then I've been afraid of bees, or something like that. And then once they go to the source, they can release it and then put in the new thought ideas of how they would like to be enjoying the outside if a bee comes along. So hypnosis works wonderfully for fears and phobias because there's a reason that imprint is there.
Great.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes. And please, other people, call in. Don't be afraid
Debbie,
to call in.
Talk to us about your theory of taking people back to that particular moment when they got the fear. You're going to be talking to us about that next week, though, aren't you?
Yeah, but I can talk a little bit.
It's
basically regression work in hypnotherapy.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people will say, oh, unless you've been trained for 1,000 bazillion hours as a hypnotherapist, don't do regression work. And my train of thought is, if our subconscious mind is the storehouse of memory of all of our life experiences from the time we're in mom's womb all the way up to the present, and we have a problem going on in our life, and we are asked to go to the source of the problem. Let's say, you have this anger come up, or you have a fear of going over a bridge, whatever it may be. Well, chances are that fear is not does not come from the future. So if you have somebody in hypnosis and you say, go to the source of the problem, they're not going to go to a week ahead saying, oh, I'm going to be afraid to go over a bridge in a week. They're going to go to some place in the past when that fear was first put in there. Now, it could be a week ago if their boss got mad at them. It could be a year ago, or it could be 20 or 30 years ago when something happened in their childhood that consciously they don't remember. But in my mind, every time we ask the subconscious mind to go to the source of a problem, it is going to be going to some time in the past, which is regression work. So it doesn't have to be difficult. It doesn't have to be like, rocket science. It's just go to the source. Most likely the source is in the past. What I'll be talking with you guys about next week is what I specialize in, which is called the affect bridge technique, which is a very powerful emotional regression technique where we bring up the uncomfortable feelings the client is experiencing in their everyday life and bridge them back to when those emotions were first imprinted in their subconscious mind and how they've been controlled by those emotions ever since.
All right.
Yeah, we're very impressed with your affect bridge technique. We use it in our practice all the time.
It's so powerful.
It really is.
People experience a tremendous sense of relief.
Yeah, because they're not controlled anymore by those uncomfortable feelings.
That's right.
And it's the beauty of that is it is something that can happen in one session. Quite often, more sessions are required to deal with various concerns that the client has, but a lot of release and wonderful feelings can come out of one session with regression.
Hey, there's a song there, A Session with Regression.
You guys are funny going.
Oh, yeah. Okay. We've got just a minute before the next break, and maybe we should talk a little bit about the fees and the licensing requirements and what it costs. A typical fee for a hypnotherapy session in California, anyway, ranges from $100 to $200, depending on the practitioner and who's doing it. Hypnotherapy is a self-regulating profession. The state doesn't license us. However, hypnotherapy schools are licensed to certify students as hypnotherapists. And Debbie, maybe you can shed a little light on the National Guild of Hypnotists, which is one of those organizations. There are many. And the umbrella of protection over the hypnotists who join these organizations.
Yeah, I think that the National Guild of Hypnotists, known as the NGH, is probably the best organization to belong to. And as you said, there are many. 25-something years ago, when myself and my teacher mentor were doing research on what Hypnosis Guild to represent, when we knew we wanted to open up a hypnosis school for training, we looked at many of them, and we found the National Guild to offer the most for their members. The National Guild of Hypnotists has an incredible curriculum. As you both know, when I teach and I certify people to be hypnotherapists, I'm using the basic and advanced curriculum that the National Guild supplies their instructors. They offer, the convention once a year and the little convention in, mid-year in February. And they work so hard and have become so successful in making sure that hypnosis stands on its own as its own distinct and separate profession from all the other talk therapies and things that are out there, while also supporting and validating all the other professions. And they make sure that all the hypnotherapists get their 15, that we do continuing education so that we don't get stuck in a rut and don't offer new things, that we all stay informed of all the newest, techniques and things that are going on out there. And they have a union, and if you're following all of the criteria that they put forth on how to be an upright hypnotherapist with integrity under their umbrella, then they do act as a protective clause if somebody wants to complain or something. If you've been following all their steps as far as giving your clients a bill of rights and all that, then they do offer a large umbrella of protection to make sure that hypnotherapists can practice freely with integrity. And there's only a couple states now that require licensing. California laws might be going in sunset in a couple of years, in which case we might have to get back up to Sacramento and start rallying again. But as long as we don't say we treat, diagnose, or cure, and we don't do false advertising, we can pretty much work with clients in any capacity to create change.
Right. So the key takeaway from that for our listeners is that people, at least in our guild, in the National Guild of Hypnotists, have the same training. We all have the same training. We all go by the same code of ethics, the same guidelines. And you can trust what we're doing, and that we're continually taking courses. 15 units of continuing education is the minimum. But Debbie mentioned the convention that we have once a year. Most people get so many more hours because the convention is so exciting, and there are hundreds of classes.
Oh, it's incredible. Yeah.
And it goes on for days, and people get really excited about what they can learn and how they can increase the value they add to their clients. And you also mentioned that we don't treat, diagnose, or cure. That's really important. A lot of people tend to think that we're all doctors. Some doctors, psychologists, psychiatrists become hypnotherapists and include that in their practice. Probably the majority are not doctors. But what we offer is a beautiful enhancement to what you do receive in your therapy, in your with your psychologist or your psychiatrist or with your medical doctor. Hypnosis can help you get to where you want to go even faster. Hypnosis can be really effective in your place of work. Employees who are stress-free, positive, motivated, and self-confident are better employees. They're more productive. They're more successful.
In today's society, with all the downsizing that's going on in corporate America, fewer people are being asked to do just the same amount of work, if not more. So that's creating a high level of stress in the work environment, starting at the CEOs and all the way down. More and more people are calling in, taking sick days due to being stressed out. So when you go into the corporate world and offer a powerful stress management program, where you can start alleviating the stress buttons and helping people complete their tasks in a comfortable manner with the workload that they have, then the work environment improves and people get more productive. And I've seen this time and time again. I've worked with real estate offices, I've worked in advertising offices, and the stress factor goes down and people start reaching their goals easier, and they become more accountable for the work that they're doing. And when you have employees that are being more accountable and getting the work done, then you have happier CEOs and all that kind of stuff. So it just makes for a healthier work environment.
It's a win-win situation.
Exactly.
And we've really enjoyed being with you today and being with you, Debbie.
Thank you so much for having me on your first show. It was an honor.
Well, thank you for joining us today. Please join us again next week. And remember, life is an adventure. Come and walk with us.
I like that.
Thank you for listening to Change Your Mind, Change Your Life with your hosts, Jim and Lynn Swearingen.